Constantine episode 6, Rage of Caliban. I really enjoyed this episode. Demons plus kids always equals something a little bit creepier. And I guess technically this wasn't a demon in this episode, which was something I really enjoyed. Like the ending sort of solution was very interesting to me. It was something I hadn't seen before. Like the one show I can really compare Constantine to is Supernatural because it's about all sorts of supernatural things. But Constantine, I feel one of the things that helps them, not only the fact that it's based off of a really popular comic book, but they do things differently. Like I know a lot of people could, of course, easily compare like, oh, exorcisms and demons, and supernatural is in season 10 right now, so they've done pretty much everything you can do. But Constantine just does things differently. They always have something that's interesting, and they probably did this in Supernatural, and I just don't remember because it's 10 seasons in. But them having it where it was like the malevolent spirit was actually the spirit of a living human being. I don't think I saw that in Supernatural before, and if it happened, then I'm sure it was good in there. I just forgot, but it was still done well in this episode, and that was a bit of a twist. That was like the biggest twist of the episode, is that this wasn't just some demon spirit or anything, and it's like Constantine knew what he had to do. He went to the one person that was living, and that guy was kind of just zonked out, like he was just gone, and he goes to the house and everything's normal how it's supposed to be, and then it's like the one thing I was missing is the fact that this isn't actually a demon. It's like a 40-year-old guy who they don't really get into the details of how it happened. I hope we get an explanation of that somehow, if it's just simply he kind of willed his own spirit to leave his body just because he was so enraged, which can easily happen. There are like a billion reasons for any spirit to do anything in any form of supernatural series, so it could have been as simple as that. He was just so mad and he was able to do it. But I thought it was really well done. How things started off actually kind of surprised me compared to how things ended, because I thought it was going to start off how it showed like the parents dying and stuff. For me personally, and I'm sure it didn't happen this way for a lot of people, I didn't instantly think that the little girl was possessed until the scene with the coffee mug. And I thought it was going to be like, okay, the little girl is going to be like the big key factor in finding out what this demon is, and it's going to be like sort of a mystery thing, like what type of demon is it, why is it killing parents and leaving all the kids behind. But then we like instantly saw like the very next scene that it's just a spirit possessing kids over and over again. So I thought it was going to start off as like a bit of a mystery type of thing, but it didn't end up doing that. And I think I would have enjoyed that just because we haven't had that yet, where it's been like a total mystery where they just have like no real clues outside of trying to get to the one survivor yet. They haven't done an episode like that, which I'm sure we'll get at some point, but that's how I thought this one was going to go. But I still definitely enjoyed it, even though it didn't go that route. And it was really interesting to, like I said, get to the end of the episode, and it ended up being the spirit of someone who is actually living, and that was just really cool. And of course, the whole ending scene with Constantine going through the little scary house was really funny to me, like him jumping and stuff, and then when the mirror breaks at the last thing, he's just fed up and he just punches the thing. But I thought that was really funny. I thought that was a good little scene, and him helping out the kid and everything working out. It sucked that we didn't get to see Zed in this episode, but it kind of gave us a bit of a connection to the mother in this episode. And once again, we haven't really had an episode like that either, where Constantine like really gets attached to one of the people, where they get attached to him. Really, it's been like, all right, you're here, you're there, and it's like you're either invading or you're helping us out, or he's helping out, he's trying to help out someone. I think it was the second episode or maybe the third, but he was helping out the woman whose husband had died and he was set on fire. I think it was the second episode, and she ended up being the villain the whole time, and he was trying to help her. So we haven't had one where he was just trying to help someone out and they were like, okay, I have no idea what all this supernatural stuff is, but you kind of introduced me to it. And of course, things are like exploding left and right in my son's room, even though they didn't. I feel like, honestly, if things are just blowing up spontaneously, I don't need to see black eyes in the mirrors. Like, that's just not going to happen. You don't just have like M80s going off in your room for no reason. So, it was like the first episode where we got to have a character actually connect to Constantine. And that's kind of how they did it, where she was like the third player in their sort of whole mission, and she was the one to help them do the seance and stuff. But I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was pretty good. We got a tiny bit of info on Chaz and how he used to be with someone, and she left him, and that kind of ended quickly after Constantine took the sword from him. But Chaz in this episode was pretty good. I enjoyed him. He had a bigger role last time, but he was still in this one. Like I said, we got the little bit of information, and then he got like pinned between two cars. That was really about the biggest stuff that happened with him in this episode. Other than that, he was kind of just walking around and just doing his normal thing. He really blended in this episode, and those were just like the two standout points. Is that little bit of info and him getting crushed between the cars. And I guess the frankincense part when they were just walking down the street, because it was just those two walking down the street, and they were like people behind them and stuff. But I enjoyed that, and he kind of got some lessons from Constantine, which was, of course, so we got lessons from Constantine, so I enjoyed that too. And like the frankincense thing, where he thought it was like, okay, it's pointing to this house, so that's the one. And then Constantine was like, frankincense veers away from evil spirits, so what we want is actually behind you. So little stuff like that I enjoyed, because it kind of let him be our channel to all this random information that we hadn't heard yet through the series. So I enjoyed that. Just overall, I think it was a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. Wasn't like super over the top or anything. We got more of the angel, which I thought was pretty good, and it seems like he's trying to help. I mean, he mentions like he can guide Constantine, but he can't exactly just like help him out or like whisk evil spirits away or anything like that. That's not exactly his position, but he was in there a lot, so I enjoyed that. We got to see more of him. I always enjoy that because we have. I mean, he's an angel, so I don't think we're gonna get like backstory on him because he could be like centuries old, so it won't be anything like that. But just seeing him interact with Constantine more is always more entertaining, and we got like the little stuff with Zed in the last episode when he came and she saw like a bunch of coins falling and things like that. So we get like little bits of information about just how angels are represented to certain people and how they're seen by other spiritual beings or I guess magical based beings and things like that. But him sort of helping out in this episode, I feel, is really leading to what we got to see in the preview for next week's episode, where Constantine is really trying to get him to help. Like, if you don't help, then it's pretty much all over. Like, you either need to fully be invested and help me out, or stop acting like you care at all. So that's how it seemed, at least in the preview. So I think that was kind of the big point of his role in this episode, was showing us like he's there, he can help, and he even mentions to Constantine himself that basically he said the exact opposite of "I can't help you." So I thought that was really cool. Of course, I must have missed it too because he, based on the way he says stuff, it's just excuse me, it's just like riddles and everything. But I enjoyed his little role, and I think I'm gonna enjoy it much more based on the preview. But this is like that first step of him taking a bigger part in the series, which I think would be great, especially if we got to see him do a couple of action-based things. If there was just, a really powerful demon, and Constantine either didn't know the answers or, couldn't find an answer, he couldn't find a specific weapon, or the weapon broke or whatever, and we got to actually see the angel come in. I can never think of his name for some reason, so I'm just going to call him the angel. But, if he could come in and do like a cool action scene, or at least just actually help out, I think that would be a really big step for the series, just based on what we've seen him do so far, where basically he kind of just comes in and just talks to Constantine, and for the most part it seems like he's just taunting him like, yep, things are getting bad, you need to figure it out, and then he just disappears. So I would love it if he had more of an interactive role in the actual missions, and he didn't come in, he kind of fills in those lulls in the mission where Constantine just doesn't know what to do, or they're just relaxing in an episode. He fills in those lulls, and it's like, this is our downtime for like Constantine and the rest of the group, and then he comes in and it kind of makes it something else where it's like, okay, this was just them relaxing, but now it's the angel portion of the episode. But I'd love to see him really come in and help, and like I said, I hope that's what the preview is teasing, that he really does make a decision, and of course hopefully it's a more interactive decision than I have to stay out of it and then he just like poofs away or something. But I thought it was pretty good to see more of him, of course, and I'm excited for next week's episode, mostly because of that, admittedly. But, of course, it was a great episode as far as I'm concerned. Demon Kid's always really creepy. I mean, like, the part when they were at the playground was very interesting, too. And it's like, Constantine, he always has a mission, and he always does it wrong sometimes. It seems like he always just does it the wrong way. He did the counseling thing, and he was like, he told Chaz that wouldn't work, but he kind of didn't have a choice after the schoolyard thing. But when he was at the schoolyard, it's like, you can't just be in a trench coat. Like, you can't just, the guy just smoking next to like this super old rusty, it wasn't rusty, but like this old blue pickup truck, and he's just sitting there in a trench coat and smoking. You just can't do that and then just walk up and be like, hey, you got two kids fighting over there because I just been watching all the kids on the playground. That causes issues when you do stuff like that. So it was kind of funny how he's always trying to do his mission, but he kind of just, he seems too direct. I think that's what I'm looking for. He's sometimes just too direct in trying to help out that he just kind of doesn't end up stopping anything. Like the guy's like, like two kids fighting isn't that big of a deal because of course he wouldn't have thought the kid was gonna have like a fractured skull by the end of that. But like two kids arguing is a little bit less of an issue compared to a pedophile just watching the kids on the playground during recess. So it's like sometimes he's a bit too direct and he doesn't, work things out the way he should. And it's always interesting to watch. Unfortunately, it ended in that kid having like a fractured skull, so it wasn't like a funny scene like it normally is. It was much funnier in the next scene when he just got punched out by the guy when he was trying to, um, let them know like, hey, I'm an exorcist and stuff. And it was really funny. I was like, I thought he was gonna talk to him and just say the name of the spirit like he mentioned, or try something or say like, I know what you are or something like that. And he was just like, boom, I got you. And then the kid freaks out and it's like, it just didn't exactly help his situation either. But I enjoyed that scene. That was, way funnier than the other kid getting hurt. But I love that, and everything about the episode was really good. Of course, comment below, let me know what you guys thought about it. Your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. Actually, before I go, I almost forgot this part. The series, it's one of the things, and I think it's just because it's in its first season, and they kind of have a different schedule compared to most shows where it's like we're 5 seasons in, we already know exactly when we're filming, and film, edit, produce, it's already on TV type of thing. This show is filming, I would have to assume they're still filming like right now for like the rest of the season, but this episode actually took place on Halloween, and this series in general just has that real serious dark tone where it's like every episode, for the most part at least, could be like a Halloween episode. Like we had one already officially, like the official Halloween episode, but it was kind of funny to see this one, and we're almost in December now, and it's like, oh, this episode actually took place on Halloween. Like I have to assume they didn't set up the roads and stuff. They actually filmed on Halloween, and it's just like, okay, well, there's a haunted house here, so we can set things up this way and all that stuff. And they could have easily done it that way, where this was meant to be the Halloween episode, but they couldn't do it because of it being a new series and stuff. But this show just seems like it has a permanent Halloween type of feel to it, which I really love because the show does get very dark. And I kind of mentioned Supernatural before. Supernatural doesn't really do that, where it's like dark all the time. They have like a ton of hilarious stuff in Supernatural, and there's a lot of comedy in Constantine as well. But it seems like as far as the actual demons go and all the issues they have their moments where it's like it could be broad daylight, it will get as dark as like darker than you would ever believe in this show. And I actually really love that because we could get like a Christmas episode one day and it's just like the darkest thing that ever happened on Christmas or something. But I actually really like that about the show, and this was just it's on Halloween. It just made it even more prominent in my mind. Like every episode is almost like that Halloween episode when you really think about it. And also a super random thing, I know this one kid was dressed as Robin, which only stuck out to me. Like it would have stuck out in general because it's Batman, but also it's like, oh, that kid's wearing a DC costume on Halloween, and this is a DC show, so it like really stood out to me when I noticed that. And that was like the very last scene with Constantine sitting on the truck. I would have loved it if they had it, if that kid went past him on the truck and he was like, hey, nice costume, because it was like a DC thing. I would have loved that. That would have been really funny to me. But like I said, comment below, let me know what you guys thought about this one, your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and what do you guys think about the angel sort of stepping up in this episode, at least mentioning the fact that he can guide Constantine. He probably won't get too crazy with helping him out, but what do you guys think about him taking a more interactive approach? And I know, some people, some of you guys have probably already read the comics, you already know anything and everything about it. So if you have info on that, please try to not spoil it for anyone else. But what do you guys think about his, interaction with Constantine in the show so far, and him kind of really stepping up as much as he can step up, at least in this episode, as far as guidance and everything? Because like I said, I want him to take more of a interactive approach. I would love to see that, and also it would just mean we get to see more of him. And I think just his, the foil between him and Constantine, I think, is very well done, especially with the secrets that he knows. Like the stuff he mentioned in the prison was really interesting, deep stuff that we didn't hear about Constantine before. And like I said, for comic book readers, you guys probably already knew that, and it was probably still cool to hear it in the show. But for people like me who don't really know Constantine, it was like, he knows this information, and it kind of put out a question like, was he there? Did he help him? Did he stop him from committing suicide when he was alone with his father? And all this interesting stuff is just like in my head now. So, of course, I love it. I love his, minor step up from what he's been doing so far, but personally, I loved it. And of course, I want to know what you guys think. So comment below and let me know. And thanks for watching.